Now, there's no doubt about it that a lot of Star Wars fans are really looking forward to shows like Mando Season 3 and the Ahsoka Tano series for 2023. They are by far the two most anticipated installments for next year. Apart from that, of course, we have Celebration and D23 on the horizon that's going to lead to numerous announcements by John, George, Dave, and yes, even Bob Iger. Now, we already know that Iger is switching from focusing on shows only to really going back to movies again. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing that a lot of fans have been very intrigued about is exactly how Favreau and Filoni are going to be really kind of implementing all of the Legends material, not just into Star Wars shows, but also into future films. And given that Favreau and Filoni got a lot of promotions, all thanks to Bob Chapek before he was fired by the Disney board members, that remains as is. So they have a lot of influence over the actual franchise, they have a lot of privileges over at Lucasfilm, and they really are making the rounds and really making things happen. So on top of this, alright, we already know that Bob Iger has been very forward with the fans as of late. As much as I really do have a lot of criticism about Bob Iger, whether it's out of desperation or pure generosity, who knows, but he is trying to actually put Star Wars back on track and keep it in that mode, and making sure that there's not going to be another backlash or another, Last Jedi situation. So on top of this too, one of which, of course, being a new Star Wars project, is a new Star Wars film. Now, with Disney and Lucasfilm already breaking ground on a series of new Star Wars movies that are set to take a darker turn for the franchise, Disney has been trying to obtain many actresses who already appeared in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well to join the Star Wars franchise. With an Old Republic trilogy now in the early stages, Disney higher-ups have been getting in touch with actress Angelina Jolie from Marvel's The Eternals to join the Old Republic project in order to add a familiar face to the franchise, and to drag in fans have, of course, Jolie to check out the Star Wars universe. Now, Disney's strategy is to use a list of actors, A-list actors, and actresses for the Old Republic movies, to varying degrees with some unknown actors as well, to create a balanced casting of the new films, similar to how Dune did this with their casting. Now, they are looking to place Jolie in as one of the villains in the upcoming Star Wars trilogy, with the first film only. Jolie is not intended to be placed in all three films, however is getting an interest to appear as one of the major characters in the first film as a new villain that would be a Sith-oriented character. Now, on top of this, guys, let me just pause here for a second. We already know that the Old Republic trilogy that's being formed by both John and Dave as we speak right now is that it's going to be a series of films that are going to be heavily inspired by Lord of the Rings, and we're talking about tone here. Obviously not story-wise, but we're talking about the tone of the films, right? How the movies feel, how they look cinematic-wise, stuff like that. They're looking at Lord of the Rings as a primary source to kind of experiment with the OR trilogy. Now, about Angelina Jolie, do I think that she fits the Star Wars universe? Well, it really is a hit or miss scenario, right? How big of a character is she going to be? Is she going to be a major role, or is she going to be like a mid-level role? We're not quite sure about that just yet, but they are in the talks of making her into a new villain and a Sith-oriented character. Now, she's already been in the Marvel universe, as, of course, in the Eternals, and ever since then, a lot of fans have been warming up to Jolie becoming a part of more movies like that, in that overall realm, right? Like comic book or Star Wars-oriented stuff. And now, given that Disney has a lot of actors, A-list ones, I must add, on their plate that have been involved in the MCU, they have a lot to choose from, because they prefer actors that they are already affiliated with or have worked with already. That's just how they are doing it, that's just how business is lately. Now, on top of this, The OR trilogy, I must add, we talked about this about 2 weeks ago, is that they are going to focus on multiple different years in this particular era. Alright, so basically, the first film is going to bounce back and forth between time, focusing on different groups of characters, and it's going to do the same as follows for the other 2 movies that come after it. So each movie, you know, in isolation, is going to actually bounce back and forth throughout time. And it's going to be a story about multiple stories, so to speak, showcasing, you know, this group of characters and that group of characters and how they all eventually collide or create a domino effect in some way, shape, or form. And you know what? That's a very interesting format that they are currently creating behind closed doors. Now, on top of this too, what's even all the more engaging on top of that too is that it's unclear if it would be a Legend Sith character or a new one entirely. On the side note, the first film of the OR trilogy is to be the highest budget Star Wars film yet, as they really want to make it a truly cinematic experience that will utilize new technologies for the fans to witness. Both Favreau and Filoni have already been in contact with Jolie, especially since Favreau knows Jolie personally from working on the MCU. Now, the first film is set to be a mixture of course, both the Old Republic and Knights of the Eternal Throne that will go between different ages of the Old Republic era. Now, I don't know if you guys know all that much about this particular point in time. I highly suggest that you guys go ahead and search up the Old Republic cinematics, check them out, watch them, tell us what you think. I think that you're going to love them if you haven't seen them before. The thing about the Old Republic is that there's so much material to cover in that one specific era because it takes place thousands of years before the events of the Phantom Menace. They have a lot to play with, they have a lot to actually experiment with, see what works, see what doesn't work, stuff like that. But that's Bob Iger's game plan, you know, he wants to pretty much go back to Star Wars movies and trilogies again. That's their overall end game, is that they want to eventually release 2 movies a year, one being a trilogy-oriented movie, and the other of which being a standalone film, or a one-off movie that has no connection. That's what they want to do. And I think it's a perfect format. I don't think that's all that much. I don't think it's overdoing it. As long as they are quality projects, as long as they are doing very well, then I think a lot of fans are going to be very well okay with having 2 movies a year with maybe a show or 2 a year as well. If you think about it, Marvel does it. They're doing just fine. I mean, Phase 4 had a bit of a struggle, yes, but generally speaking, they are doing fine with multiple movies a year. And you know why? Because they cater to the fans, for the most part. They really do. And a lot of that has to do with, of course, you know, Kevin Feige. I know Kevin Feige, by the way, has been taking a little bit more of a negative turn on some things. I understand that. But he is 1,000 times better than Kathleen Kennedy. Period. The end. So, on top of this, guys, like I say, given that there's a lot of changes coming to Lucasfilm, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. From night to moon, we hear them moans again.